We opened our eyes and saw ourselves in a family with special conditions. In a specific country and in a period of history that can be said to be one of the most difficult times in this world. With specific financial and economic conditions that are lower than many people in the world, these conditions caused our growth and education to be affected. We don't get many of the necessities of life, and in the end, we have to endure a lot of suffering and effort to get anything that is outside of our social class. Instead, with a quick look around us, we saw people who always easily achieve goals that may take decades for us. Because of having better conditions, both in terms of finances, family level, and even geographical location. Or simply by looking down, you can find areas and see people who are in a constant struggle for their daily needs. They may never manage to even get out of these daily battles and pursue dreams beyond that. People are born in war-torn countries, some in poor families, others with birth defects, and others with social problems. On the other hand, people are born in developed countries, and they have no understanding of financial poverty. They have not experienced the needs and shortages, and they have been educated in a culturally progressive society and will easily engage in jobs with great income and a great level of well-being. For many of us who were born as human beings from certain cultures, in the dark time of this world, and probably from families who are considered below the average line according to modern economic standards, this question may have arisen. Is there any justice in this world? Is God, as the designer and creator of this world, just? So what should we do with all these inequalities and problems? So much suffering and hardship, so many problems and dilemmas that were imposed on us in many cases. How is it compatible with justice in the world or with the existence of a just God? What is the answer to these questions? Is God just as Abrahamic religions say? What are the ways to understand God's justice in a world that is full of oppression, discrimination, and inequality? Well, the basic question at the beginning of this discussion is, what does justice mean? How is justice defined, and how can we check it? We go back to ancient Greece, where philosophy was at its peak, and certainly, one of the biggest philosophical questions at that time was the existence or non-existence of justice in the world. Aristotle believed that justice means giving the right to the owner of the right. His definition is a simple and basic interpretation of justice, which in today's times, due to the more complicated concepts and the creation of different ethical dimensions in life, is not enough, and other definitions should be added to it. Contemporary philosopher John Rawls defines justice as non-discrimination. However, some people still believe that justice does not have a specific definition, or if it does, many dimensions should be considered in that definition. For example, a famous philosophical idea expressed here is that if justice means equality, then all the mountains in the world should have the same shape. Based on this, people should have the same level of income and well-being regardless of whether they studied or did not study, tried and did not try. We may need a more complete definition of justice. But is God just? Why is the world created like this, and why is this world full of inequality? Some Islamic mystics and philosophers believe that the world was created on the basis of justice. Because the creation of man and the world was a favor from God. Ourselves, we did not have any right to this creation, and now we want to file a complaint for not receiving it. Maybe this verse of Rumi can be considered in the same direction. We weren't there, and we didn't have a request, Your Grace, you hear our unspoken words. Mystics like Rumi believe that since we had no right on our part, as a result, God is free to do whatever he does, and justice should be defined based on this free will. The world as a whole is the property of God, and God has the right to do whatever he wants on his property. As a result, it is better to define justice based on the will of God instead of defining justice based on human attitudes and our own imaginations. They believe that everything depends on the scale and angle of view. When we look at things from a human perspective, we see the world around us as full of oppression, discrimination, and injustice. But when we see the world from a divine perspective, the story changes completely. For example, consider an ant in scale with a human. From that ant's point of view, it is cruel for us humans to step on this planet and live. Because many ants are crushed under our feet every day. But from the perspective of humans, this is not cruel. We are doing our own work. The crushing of ants is done unintentionally and without our knowledge. Maybe people kill cockroaches to keep their living environment clean and maintain hygiene. Having said that, people believe that the existence of irregularities and injustices in the world depends on the way we look, or if we should say better, it depends on the observer. The way we humans look at issues is based on human relationships and a human-centered view. While it is possible that the divine view and the laws designed by God to establish order and justice in the world include a global view and a different scale. However, some others believe that the world, as a creation of God, is a reflection of his inner being and God's attributes. God is a being with will, mind, consciousness, and moral characteristics. Just like when we see an orderly and law-abiding world, we realize that the omnipotent God created it. So if there is injustice in the world, can we conclude that God, as the sole designer and creator of this world, is not fair? In this video, we examine the basic question in the minds of many of us humans. Is it possible to still believe that this world has a just creator despite all this inequality, discrimination, and oppression? In the next video, we will expand on this concept and examine other aspects of it.